sister's fiancé got blackout drunk at my bachelorette party and said, "I can't let you do this." When my sister tried to stop him, he said, "She's my wife. She deserves to know she's my wife." The music stopped. All 8 of my bridesmaids froze mid-laugh, champagne glasses suspended in air. I stared at Brandon, my sister's fiancé of 2 years, swaying in the doorway of our hotel suite. His eyes were glazed but locked onto me with terrifying intensity. My sister grabbed his arm, hissing that he was drunk. He jerked away so violently she stumbled. "He'd been quiet for 3 years," he said. 3 goddamn years watching me pretend I didn't know him. "Tell them about Austin." My blood went cold. Austin. The study abroad program. Spring semester of junior year. My best friend Whitney stepped between us, threatening to call security. But Brandon was looking at my fiancé Gregory, who'd just appeared behind him. "Did she tell you we got married there?" Brandon slurred. The room tilted. Gregory's face went pale, then red, then expressionless. I said he was insane, making it up. My sister was crying now, begging Brandon to leave. Brandon described it all. The chapel on 6th Street. April 19th. The white sundress from a vintage shop. How we'd filed the paperwork the next morning. How I'd said it felt right. That we'd tell everyone when we got home. Then I'd ghosted him, blocked his number, transferred universities. When he tracked me down at Thanksgiving, I'd acted like we'd never kissed. My sister's face crumbled. I lied. Said I'd gotten it annulled months ago. Brandon pulled out his phone, scrolling through screenshots. He'd been checking every day. "We're still married, Violet. Legally married. And tomorrow, you're supposed to marry him." The truth was, I'd tried to annul it. Contacted 3 lawyers. But the paperwork required Brandon's signature, and I couldn't face him. Couldn't face what I'd done after waking up in that Austin hotel room, realizing I'd married my roommate's boyfriend while blackout drunk. I'd run, changed schools, buried it. My sister's voice was small. "You married my boyfriend?" "He wasn't her boyfriend then," I said weakly. "They didn't start dating until senior year. After I abandoned him," Brandon corrected. "After I broke his heart and he tried to move on." He looked at my sister with genuine pain. He'd thought he loved her, thought he could forget me. Gregory's voice was deadly calm. "Get out." Brandon stumbled backward, my sister supporting him. At the door, he turned back. "We're still married. That means tomorrow's wedding is fraud. Everything about your perfect life is built on a lie." They left. 8 pairs of eyes stared at me in silence. Whitney asked if he was lying. I fled to the bathroom, locking the door. My hands shook as I found the lawyer's email from 6 months ago. Without both parties' signatures, the marriage certificate remains valid in the state of Texas. A knock. Gregory telling me to open up now. Tomorrow I was supposed to walk down the aisle in a $12,000 dress. Promise my life to Gregory in front of 300 guests. But technically, legally, I was already married to the man my sister was engaged to. The bathroom door rattled. Gregory's voice came through, no longer calm. "Violet, I'm not asking again." I unlocked it. He stood there in his perfectly pressed shirt, the one I'd ironed for him that morning while talking about seating charts. His jaw was tight, that muscle twitching like it did when someone cut him off in traffic. "We need to talk," he said. "Not here." Whitney was suddenly beside him. "I'll handle the girls. You two go somewhere private." We took the elevator down in silence. The lobby was mostly empty at midnight. Gregory walked straight to the hotel bar, ordered 2 whiskeys, and sat in a corner booth. I slid in across from him, my hands still shaking. "Is it true?" he asked. His voice was flat, emotionless, the way he sounded when he fired someone. I couldn't look at him. "Yes." He drank his entire whiskey in one swallow. "You're married. Technically. There's no technically about marriage, Violet. You're either married or you're not." I tried to explain how drunk I'd been, how it was supposed to be a joke, how I panicked when I realized what we'd done, how I tried to fix it but the lawyer said I needed Brandon's signature. "And you never told me," Gregory said. 3 years we've been together. We bought a house, we planned a wedding, and you never once mentioned you were married to someone else." I was scared. I thought if I just ignored it, it would go away. He laughed, bitter and sharp. "That's your solution to everything, isn't it? Ignore it until it disappears. Like when you maxed out your credit card and hid the statements for 6 months? Like when you got fired from your first job and pretended you still worked there for 3 weeks? That's not fair." "Fair?" His voice rose slightly. "Tomorrow morning, 300 people are showing up to watch me marry a woman who's already married. My parents flew in from Seattle. We spent $60,000 on this wedding. And you think fair matters right now?" The bartender glanced over. Gregory lowered his voice, leaning across the table. "Did you love him?" "I don't know. I was drunk." "That's not an answer." "I loved the idea of him," I said finally. "He was spontaneous and reckless and everything I wasn't supposed to want. My roommate used to talk about him constantly. How he'd show up at her dorm at 2 in the morning with takeout. How he'd drive her to the beach on random Tuesdays. I was jealous." "So you married him?" "I married him." Gregory stood up. "I need to think." He left me sitting there with 2 empty glasses and the wreckage of my life. I went back upstairs. The suite was quiet now. Whitney had sent everyone home. She sat on the couch, still in her bridesmaid dress, scrolling through her phone. "Your sister called," she said without looking up. 19 times. "I can't talk to her." "You're going to have to eventually." I sat beside her. "What do I do?" Whitney put her phone down. "Honestly, I have no idea. This is so far beyond anything I've ever dealt with." My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. "We need to talk. Now." I ignored it. Then another came through. From my mom. "Your sister just told me everything. Call me immediately." Then my dad. "What the hell is going on?" Then my sister again. "I'm coming to your hotel." Whitney saw my face. "She's on her way?" I nodded. She stood up. "I'll make coffee. This is going to be a long night." 20 minutes later, there was a knock. I opened the door. My sister stood there, makeup smeared, eyes red and swollen. Brandon was not with her. "Where is he?" I asked. "Passed out in our hotel room." She pushed past me into the suite. I sent him an Uber back and stayed to deal with this. Whitney quietly excused herself to the bedroom. My sister turned on me. "How could you?" I started to speak, but she held up her hand. "No, I don't want excuses. I want to understand how my sister could marry my fiancé and never tell me. He wasn't your fiancé then, but he was my boyfriend. We were dating when you came back from Austin. You came to Sunday dinners at my apartment. You helped me pick out his birthday present. You stood there and smiled and pretended everything was normal. I didn't know you were dating him. Not at first. She stared at me. When did you figure it out? Thanksgiving. When you brought him home to meet Mom and Dad. Her face went white. That was 4 months after Austin. I know. And you said nothing. What was I supposed to say? I couldn't undo it. The marriage was already done. You could have warned me. You could have told me I was falling in love with your husband. I didn't think it would last. You'd only been dating a few months. I thought it would fizzle out, and I'd never have to tell anyone. She laughed hysterical. It didn't fizzle out, Violet. I fell in love with him. We moved in together. We got engaged. I planned a future with him while you planned a future with Gregory, and nobody thought to mention that you were already married. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't erase the fact that I've been sleeping with your husband for 2 years. Don't call him that. Why not? That's what he is. Legally. Officially. Her voice broke. I can't believe you did this to me. I didn't do it to you. I didn't even know you existed when it happened, but you knew I existed at Thanksgiving. You knew at Christmas. You knew at every family dinner and birthday party and holiday for 3 years, and you never said a word, because I was ashamed, because I'd made the stupidest mistake of my life and I didn't know how to fix it. My sister sat down on the couch, her hands covering her face. Brandon told me everything in the Uber. How you met in a study abroad orientation. How you became friends. How one night you both got drunk and decided to get married on a dare. How the next morning you panicked and ran. That's about right. He said he spent months trying to find you. That you'd blocked him on everything. That when he finally found you at Thanksgiving, you were sitting at my dining table, like nothing had happened. I didn't know what to do. You could have pulled me aside. You could have called me later. You could have done anything except smile and pass the mashed potatoes like we were all strangers. I was a coward. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Do you have any idea what you've destroyed? I can't marry him now. Even if we work through this, I'll always know he's legally your husband. That you had him first. I don't want him. It doesn't matter what you want. She stood up, wiping her eyes. You took something from me, even if you didn't mean to. Even if you were drunk and stupid. You married the man I love and you hid it from me for 3 years. What are you going to do? I don't know. Go home. Cancel my wedding, I guess. Figure out if there's anything left to salvage. She walked to the door, then turned back. Mom and Dad know. They're furious. Dad said he's not paying for your wedding anymore. Mom said she doesn't know if she can look at you right now. The door closed behind her. I stood there in my bridesmaid robe, the one that said bride in sparkly letters across the back, and felt my entire life collapse. Whitney emerged from the bedroom. I heard everything. My wedding is tomorrow. Is it though? My phone buzzed again. Gregory, can you come to my room? We need to make decisions. I found him in his suite 3 floors up. He'd changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt. His best man Christopher was there, sitting in the armchair looking uncomfortable. Christopher stood when I entered. I'll give you 2 some privacy. After he left, Gregory motioned for me to sit. I've been thinking about our options. Okay, option 1. We cancel the wedding. I tell everyone there was a personal emergency. We postpone indefinitely while you figure out this marriage situation. And option 2? We go through with it tomorrow. Pretend nothing happened. Deal with the legal mess later. That's fraud. It's already fraud, Violet. The moment you agreed to marry me while married to someone else. So we're just going to lie to everyone? We've been lying to everyone. What's one more day? I stared at him. You want to marry me tomorrow? After everything you just learned? No, he said quietly. I don't want to marry you at all right now, but I've spent 2 years building a life with you. I bought a ring. I invited my family. I took a week off work for our honeymoon. I'm not ready to throw that away because you made a mistake 3 years ago. This isn't just a mistake. This is a whole other marriage that you don't want, that you've been trying to escape for 3 years. But it's still legal. It still exists. He rubbed his face, exhausted. Here's what I'm thinking. We get married tomorrow as planned. Immediately after, you contact Brandon and get him to sign the annulment papers. We backdate everything if we have to. We fix this quietly and move on. What about my sister? What about her? She's devastated. Her relationship is destroyed because of me. That's between her and Brandon. You can't control what they do. This feels wrong. Everything about this is wrong, Violet. But I'm trying to find a way forward that doesn't involve me losing you and $60,000. I should have been grateful. He was offering me a way out, a way to salvage everything. But sitting there looking at him, I realized something. He wasn't hurt that I'd lied. He was annoyed that I'd created an inconvenience. Do you even love me? I asked. He looked surprised. Of course I do, because it doesn't feel like it right now. It feels like you're doing cost-benefit analysis. I'm trying to be practical. One of us has to be. I stood up. I need more time. We don't have time. The wedding is in 11 hours. Then I guess you need to decide if you can marry someone who's already married. I left before he could respond. Back in my suite, Whitney had fallen asleep on the couch. I grabbed a blanket from the bedroom and covered her, then sat by the window watching the city lights. My phone kept buzzing. My mom, my dad, my aunt asking if the rumors were true. Bridesmaids asking if the wedding was still happening. Gregory's mom asking if I was feeling all right. She'd heard I was sick. I turned my phone off. At 4 a.m, I finally fell asleep in the armchair. I woke up 3 hours later to Whitney shaking my shoulder. The hair and makeup team just arrived downstairs. I looked at her. Should I tell them to leave? Is the wedding happening? I don't know. She sat on the arm of the chair. Do you want it to happen? I want to go back in time and not get drunk in Austin. I want to not be married to Brandon. I want my sister to not hate me. I want my parents to still be proud of me. That's not what I asked. I thought about Gregory. How he'd proposed on a beach at sunset with a photographer hidden in the dunes. How he'd presented me with a spreadsheet of wedding venues ranked by cost per guest. How he introduced me at parties as his fiancé who works in marketing, always adding my job title like it validated his choice. How he'd never once asked me what I actually wanted. No, I said finally. I don't want to marry him. Whitney nodded. Then let's cancel it. It took 6 phone calls. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, the florist, the DJ, the transportation company. Everyone wanted to know why, if they'd still get paid, if we were rescheduling. I said there was a family emergency and we'd be in touch. Gregory called halfway through. I heard you're canceling vendors. I can't do this. We had an agreement. We had a conversation at 3 in the morning where you suggested committing fraud. I was trying to help. You were trying to save face. There's a difference. Fine. Cancel everything. But I want the ring back. You can have it. And I'm keeping the house. The house was in both our names, but I didn't have the energy to fight. Keep it. He hung up without saying goodbye. My mom called next. She'd heard from the venue. Your father wants to know if you've lost your mind. Probably. How could you do this to us? We invited everyone we know. Told them our daughter was getting married. And now what? We look like fools. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't pay back the deposits. Sorry doesn't explain to Aunt Patricia why she flew in from Denver for nothing. Mom, I'm married. To Brandon. The wedding to Gregory would have been illegal. So, get a divorce. It's not that simple. Nothing with you is ever simple, Violet. You've been making disasters since you were 16, and we're always the ones cleaning them up. I don't need you to clean this up. Good. Because we're not going to. You're on your own this time. She hung up too. Whitney brought me coffee. Your sister is downstairs. I don't want to see her. She says she's not leaving until you talk. I found her in the hotel lobby, sitting in a wingback chair, still wearing yesterday's clothes. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. Brandon's checking into rehab, she said without preamble. He called his sponsor this morning. I sat down across from her. I'm glad. He says he'll sign the annulment papers. Whatever you need. He wants to make this right. Thank you. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. I can't move forward with him until this is resolved. Are you going to move forward with him? She looked at her hands. I don't know. 3 years feels like a long time to build something, but I don't know if I can forget that he's been in love with you this whole time. He's not in love with me. That's not what he said last night. He said seeing you with Gregory made him realize he never stopped. He was drunk. Drunk people tell the truth, Violet. We sat in silence. Hotel guests walked past us, pulling suitcases, checking out, starting their days. Normal people doing normal things. I canceled my wedding, I said finally. I heard. Gregory and I are done. Also heard. My sister looked at me properly for the first time. Good. Good. He was wrong for you. I never said anything because you seemed happy, but he treated you like an accessory. Like something pretty to hang on his arm at work functions. I thought you liked him. I liked that you were getting married. I liked that Mom and Dad were proud of you for once. I didn't like him. Why didn't you tell me? Because you wouldn't have listened. You were too busy trying to prove you could do something right. I started crying. Not pretty tears, but ugly, gasping sobs. My sister moved to the chair beside me and put her arm around my shoulders. You really screwed this up, she said softly. I know. Like, spectacularly. I know, but we'll figure it out. We always do. We sat there in the lobby, 2 sisters in yesterday's clothes, surrounded by the wreckage of 2 weddings that weren't going to happen. The hotel manager approached us cautiously. Excuse me, Miss Violet. There are some guests asking about the wedding ceremony scheduled for 2 o'clock. It's canceled, my sister said before I could speak. Family emergency. Please direct anyone who asks to leave. He nodded and retreated. I need to get out of here, I said. I can't face 300 people asking questions. Come stay with me, my sister offered. Brandon's in rehab for 30 days. You can have the apartment. What about you? I'll stay with Mom and Dad. I don't think they want to see me. They'll get over it. Eventually. We checked out of the hotel separately. I threw my bridesmaid robe in the trash on the way out. The dress was still hanging in the bridal suite, $12,000 of silk and lace that would never be worn. I told the hotel to donate it. My sister's apartment was small and quiet. She'd already removed most traces of Brandon. His clothes were gone, his toiletries cleared from the bathroom. Only a few photos remained, face down on the bookshelf. There's food in the fridge, she said. Help yourself to anything. I'll be back tomorrow to grab some clothes. Thank you for not hating me. I do hate you a little bit, but you're still my sister. After she left, I collapsed on her couch and slept for 14 hours straight. When I woke up, my phone had 63 messages. Most were from wedding guests asking what happened. A few were from Gregory's friends and family, angry and confused. One was from my dad. Your mother and I need space. Don't contact us for a while. That hurt more than I expected. Whitney came by that evening with Chinese food and wine. She didn't ask questions, just sat with me while I ate in silence. We watched terrible reality TV until midnight. I have to ask, she finally said. What now? I don't know. File for annulment. Find a new place to live. Figure out how to pay Gregory back for the house. You're not responsible for the house. You didn't want to buy it in the first place. He's not going to see it that way. Then let him sue you. She poured more wine. You've spent 3 years making yourself smaller for Gregory. Don't give him one more thing. I thought about the house. The modern monstrosity Gregory had insisted on. All glass and sharp angles and uncomfortable furniture. I wanted something cozy, something with character. He'd overruled me on every decision. You're right, I said. He can keep the house and everything in it. That's my girl. A week later, I met Brandon at a coffee shop near his rehab center. He looked thinner, sober, almost fragile. The cocky guy from Austin was gone, replaced by someone who'd clearly been through hell. I brought the papers, I said, sliding the folder across the table. He opened it, scanned the documents. This annals everything? Everything. Like it never happened. He pulled out a pen, then paused. Can I ask you something? Okay. Did you ever think about me? After Austin? I thought about you constantly. Every time I saw my sister with you. Every time I lied to Gregory about my past. Every time I looked in the mirror. But you never reached out. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to fix what I'd broken. He signed his name, dated it, slid it back. There. Fixed. Thank you. He stood to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, that day in Austin was the happiest day of my life. Even if it was a mistake. Mine too. He walked out. I sat there with the signed papers, the legal end of a marriage that should never have happened. My sister called that night. Did he sign? He signed. Good. I'm coming over. She showed up with pizza and wine. We sat on her apartment floor, the annulment papers between us. So what now? She asked. I file these tomorrow. In 6 weeks, it's like Brandon and I never happened. And Gregory? Sold a house. Split everything down the middle. He's seeing someone new already. She raised her eyebrows. That was fast. I think he was already seeing her. I think he was looking for an excuse to end it. Are you okay? I'm better than I've been in 3 years. I'm not lying anymore. She clinked her wine glass against mine. To not lying. To not lying. What about you and Brandon? She was quiet for a long moment. We're trying. It's hard. Therapy twice a week. A lot of honest conversations about what happened and why. But we're trying. I'm sorry I made it harder. You did. But I've decided to forgive you. Mostly. Mostly? You're on sister probation for at least a year. Fair. We ate pizza and drank wine and didn't talk about weddings or marriages or anything heavy. We talked about her new job promotion, my plans to go back to school, the vacation we wanted to take together to somewhere tropical. Around midnight, she stood to leave. Hey, Violet. Yeah? Next time you get married, maybe stay sober for it. Deal. After she left, I looked at the annulment papers one more time. In 6 weeks, Brandon and I would be legally unmarried. The mistake would be erased, at least on paper. But I'd learned something from this disaster. Some mistakes don't get erased. They get carried forward. They change you. They reshape your relationships and force you to face the person you really are. I'd spent 3 years running from the truth, hiding behind lies and excuses, and the hope that if I ignored something long enough, it would disappear. It never does. I filed the papers the next morning. The courthouse clerk barely glanced at them, stamped them with bureaucratic indifference, handed me a receipt. In 6 to 8 weeks, she said, you'll receive confirmation. 6 to 8 weeks until I could truly move forward. I walked out into the spring sunshine and called Whitney. Want to grab lunch? Always. Where? That terrible diner you love? The one with the amazing pancakes? That's the one. We met 30 minutes later. She was already in a booth, coffee in hand, looking at her phone. I slid in across from her. I filed the papers. How do you feel? Lighter. Terrified, relieved, all of it at once. The waitress came by. We both ordered pancakes, bacon, coffee. Comfort food for a day that felt fragile and new. So what's the plan? Whitney asked. Find an apartment. Start job hunting. Maybe take a class or two. What kind of class? I don't know. Something I actually enjoy instead of something that looks good on a resume. Revolutionary. We laughed. The diner was busy, families and couples and solo diners all living their ordinary Saturday mornings. None of them knew my life had imploded. None of them cared. It was freeing. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Your father and I would like to see you. Sunday dinner at our house. I showed Whitney. She thinks that's good or bad. Only one way to find out. Sunday dinner at my parents' house was tense. My dad answered the door, hugged me stiffly. Didn't quite meet my eyes. My mom was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with more force than necessary. We need to talk, my dad said, gesturing to the living room. I sat on the couch where I'd sat 1,000 times before. My parents settled into their usual chairs. The clock on the mantel ticked loudly. Your mother and I have been discussing the situation, my dad started. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I know I disappointed you. I know I embarrassed the family. I know I should have told you about Austin years ago. My mom set down her knife. You should have. But that's not what we wanted to talk about. It's not? My dad leaned forward. We've been thinking about our own marriage. About the mistakes we made, the things we hid from each other. My mom took over. When your father and I got married, I was pregnant with your sister. We told everyone we'd been planning it for months. I stared at them. I never knew that. There's a lot you don't know, my dad said. My father wanted me to marry someone else. Someone from a better family. I defied him and chose your mother. He didn't speak to me for 2 years. I thought Grandpa loved Mom. He does now. But it took time. My mom came into the living room, sat on the arm of my dad's chair. What we're trying to say is that everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has secrets. The question is whether you learn from them. Have you learned? My dad asked. I hope so. He nodded. Then we're done being angry. We're your parents. We love you even when you're spectacularly stupid. Thanks, Dad. Dinner was easier after that. My sister showed up halfway through with Brandon, who looked nervous and uncomfortable. My parents were polite but distant with him. Nobody mentioned the wedding. Over dessert, my sister made an announcement. Brandon and I are postponing our wedding. We're going to couples therapy first. Work through everything before we make any big decisions. That's very mature, my mom said. I learned it from watching Violet do everything wrong. Everyone laughed, even me. After dinner, I helped my mom with dishes. She scrubbed a pot in silence for a while, then spoke quietly. I judged you too harshly. I made you feel like you couldn't tell me when you made mistakes. I made that choice myself, but I created an environment where honesty felt dangerous. That's on me. I dried a plate, set it in the rack. Can we start over? We can try. That night, I drove back to my sister's apartment feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The annulment came through 6 weeks later. A simple letter in the mail. The marriage of Violet Chen and Brandon Wells is hereby dissolved and annulled. It was so anticlimactic, so bureaucratic, that I almost laughed. I called my sister. It's official. Brandon and I were never married. How do you feel? Free. Good. Because I have a proposition. What kind of proposition? I'm buying a duplex. I want you to rent the other unit. I can't afford a duplex. You can afford half the mortgage, and I could use a good tenant, someone I trust. We spent a month looking at properties. Finally found a perfect one in a neighborhood neither of us could afford alone. 2 identical units side by side. We'd share a yard but have our own spaces. We moved in on a Saturday in August. Whitney, Brandon, Christopher, and a handful of friends helped haul boxes. My parents brought lunch. It felt like a new beginning. That night, my sister knocked on our shared wall. 3 knocks, our childhood signal. I knocked back. Everything okay over there? She called through the wall. Perfect. I sat on my secondhand couch in my empty living room and felt genuinely happy for the first time in years. No lies, no secrets, no Gregory telling me how to decorate, just me and my choices and my truth. I started grad school that fall. Psychology, not marketing like Gregory had suggested. I wanted to understand why people made the choices they made, why they hid things, why they hurt themselves and others. In my first class, we discussed cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding conflicting beliefs. I thought about the 3 years I'd spent knowing I was married to Brandon while planning a life with Gregory, the mental gymnastics required to maintain that lie. My professor said something that stuck with me. We're only as sick as our secrets. I'd been very sick, but I was healing. 6 months after moving into the duplex, I met someone at a bookstore. His name was Nathan, and he was looking for the same obscure philosophy text I needed for class. We laughed about the coincidence, grabbed coffee, talked for 3 hours. He was nothing like Gregory. Casual where Gregory was formal, curious where Gregory was certain, interested in who I was instead of what I could do for him. On our 3rd date, I told him everything. About Austin, about Brandon, about the canceled wedding. I watched his face carefully, waiting for judgment. "That sounds really hard," he said finally. "I'm glad you got out. You're not horrified? Everyone has a past. Everyone makes mistakes. The question is what you do next." We kept seeing each other, slowly, carefully. I didn't want to rush into anything, didn't want to repeat old patterns. My sister approved. "He's good for you. He makes you laugh." He does. "Brandon and I are setting a new wedding date. Small ceremony in the spring. Are you sure?" "I'm sure. We've done the work. We're different people than we were. I'm happy for you." She hugged me. "We're going to be okay, Violet. Both of us." A year after the canceled wedding, my sister married Brandon in their backyard. 30 people, string lights, potluck dinner. Everything Gregory's wedding wasn't. I stood as her maid of honor. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, I caught Brandon's eye. He smiled, relaxed and happy. No one said a word. At the reception, my dad pulled me aside. He looked healthier now, walking regularly, eating better after a health scare had shaken him up. "You brought Nathan," he observed. "I did. He's a good one. Don't mess it up." "I'm trying not to." "Good." We watched my sister and Brandon dance. Clearly happy, clearly in love. All the mess and pain had somehow led here. To this moment, to this healing. "Life's messy," my dad said. "But that's okay. Messy means you're learning. I think I'm finally learning." He squeezed my shoulder. "Good." Nathan found me later, brought me champagne. "Your family is wonderful. They're chaos. The best families are." 2 years after my canceled wedding, Nathan proposed. No photographer, no spreadsheet. Just the 2 of us on a random Tuesday night, eating takeout on my couch. I said yes immediately. Then I added, "But I need to tell you something first." He waited. "I need this to be real. I need us to be sure. I can't rush into this. I'm not asking you to rush. I'm asking you to marry me whenever you're ready." We got married at City Hall 8 months later. My sister and Whitney as witnesses. My parents crying happy tears. Brandon shook Nathan's hand, wished us well without any awkwardness. No big reception, no $12,000 dress, just us, choosing each other clearly and soberly. Afterward, we got pizza at our favorite place. My sister raised her glass. To my sister, who finally figured it out. To figuring it out, I agreed. That night, lying in bed beside Nathan in our apartment, I thought about the girl I'd been in Austin, drunk and desperate and so afraid of being ordinary that she'd done something extraordinary and stupid. I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd learned that ordinary was beautiful, that honest was better than perfect, that the right person doesn't need a dramatic proposal or an expensive wedding. They just need you to show up and tell the truth. Nathan rolled over, half asleep. "Love you. Love you too." And I meant it, fully, honestly, without any secret marriages hiding in my past. The next morning, I woke up married to the right person for the first time in my life. It felt exactly like I'd always hoped it would. Quiet, certain, real. We made breakfast together, read the paper, planned our day. Normal married people doing normal married things. And it was perfect precisely because it was ordinary. Later that week, I got a message from my old roommate from Austin, the one whose boyfriend I'd married. "We hadn't spoken since I transferred schools. I heard you finally got married for real. Congratulations. Thank you. I'm sorry about everything that happened. Water under the bridge. Brandon and your sister seem happy." "They are. And you?" "I'm happy too. Finally. That's all any of us can ask for." I closed the message and looked around my apartment. Photos of Nathan and me, my diplomas on the wall, books I'd actually chosen, a life I'd built honestly, without shortcuts or lies. My phone rang. My sister. "Want to grab lunch?" "Always. I'll pick you up in 20. I got ready, kissed Nathan goodbye, walked outside into the sunshine. My sister pulled up, music blasting, windows down. I climbed in. She grinned at me. "Ready?" "Ready." We drove toward the city, 2 sisters who'd survived weddings and secrets and stupid mistakes, who'd come out the other side stronger and wiser and more honest. The past would always be there. That drunken night in Austin, the 3 years of lies, the bachelorette party disaster. But it didn't define me anymore. I'd learned to tell the truth. I'd learned to face my mistakes. I'd learned that sometimes the only way forward is through the wreckage. And on the other side of all that mess and pain and honesty, I'd found something better than I'd ever imagined. A real marriage, a real life, a real chance at happiness. That was enough. That was everything. That was finally beautifully mine.